When we look across the modern American landscape, we see highways, suburbs, fields of wheat stretching to the horizon, a continent that feels tame, safe. But 12,000 years ago, this land belonged to something else. It was the largest lion to ever live, bigger than any lion in Africa today, heavier, more powerful. A predator built for an Ice Age world of mammoths, bison, and towering prey. This was Panthera atrox, the American lion. And for thousands of years, it ruled North America as its undisputed apex predator. So what happened? How does the most powerful cat in history simply disappear? To understand this creature, you have to forget the lions you know. If you stood next to an African lion today, you would feel an instinctual fear. But if you stood next to Panthera atrox, you wouldn't just feel fear. You would feel entirely insignificant. They were up to 25% larger than any modern lion, standing 4 feet at the shoulder, weighing over 800 pounds. They were longer, taller, and incredibly dense. But they weren't clumsy giants. Evolution didn't just make them big, it made them perfect. Their legs were long and slender compared to the bulky saber-tooth. This means they weren't ambush brawlers. They were pursuit predators. They could run fast. Imagine a predator the size of a grizzly bear, sprinting across the open plains at 40 miles an hour. And they needed that speed because of the world they lived in. This wasn't the America we know. This was the Mammoth Steppe, a brutal, freezing, endless sea of grass stretching from the glaciers of Canada, down through the Great Plains, all the way to the mountains of Mexico. It was a world vibrating with life. Herds of wild horses, giant ancient bison, ground sloths that weighed as much as a car, and the Colombian mammoth. To hunt in this world, you couldn't just rely on brute force. Prey this large will kill a predator that makes a single mistake. A kick from an ancient horse could shatter a skull. To survive, the American lion needed something more dangerous than teeth. It needed a mind. For a long time, we viewed prehistoric predators as primitive killing machines, creatures of pure instinct, devoid of thought. But the fossil record tells a completely different story. In the heart of Los Angeles lies the Brea Tar Pits. For thousands of years, predators heard the cries of trapped herbivores, rushed in to feed, and became trapped themselves in the sticky asphalt. We have found the remains of thousands of dire wolves. We have found thousands of saber-toothed cats. But the American lion? We have found only a fraction, a few dozen. Why? Were they rare? No, they were smart. When paleontologists scan the brain cavity of Panthera atrox, they find something astonishing. Their brains were significantly larger, relative to their body size, than the saber-tooth. They had a highly developed cortex. When an American lion heard a dying mammoth in the tar, it didn't rush in blindly. It waited. It calculated. It recognized the danger of the black pools, and it walked away. They possessed restraint. They possessed observation. And, like modern lions, they likely possessed deep social bonds. In caves from Wyoming to Patagonia, we find their bones clustered together. Males and females, adults and cubs. They didn't just hunt together. They lived together. They raised their young in the shadows of the glaciers. They likely groomed one another, played, and mourned their dead. In the freezing, violent nights of the Pleistocene, their roaring would have shaken the earth. A chorus of apex predators announcing to the dark, "This is our world." And for over 100,000 years, it was. They were undisputed masters of the continent. So, if they were so large, so intelligent, and so dominant, why are our plains empty? Where did the lions go? The answer is a tragedy told in 2 parts. Around 15,000 years ago, the Earth began to warm. The great ice sheets began to weep. the climate fluctuated wildly. The endless dry grasslands of the Mammoth Steppe began to vanish, replaced by thick forests and bogs. The ecosystem was shifting from beneath their feet. The massive herds of megafauna, the bison, the horses, the mammoths, began to thin. For a super predator that requires immense calories to survive, a shrinking food supply is a death sentence. But the American lion was adaptable. It was smart. It might have survived the changing climate if it weren't for a new shadow on the horizon. A new predator was moving south through the ice corridors. They were small. They were weak. They didn't have claws, and they didn't have fangs. But they had fire. They had spears. They had coordination. They were us, Homo sapiens, the Clovis people. When humans arrived in the Americas, it wasn't a sudden war. It was an unwinnable math problem. We didn't actively hunt the American lion into extinction. We were likely terrified of them, but we hunted what they needed. We targeted the giant bison. We brought down the mammoths. We were hyper-efficient. We killed from a distance, and slowly, year by year, valley by valley, we stole the lion's livelihood. Imagine a pride of American lions 11,000 years ago. They are starving. The herds are gone. The plains are silent. They follow the scent of a fresh kill, only to find a group of upright, two-legged creatures, wielding strange sticks that bite like stone. The lions are pushed to the margins, forced into the harsh mountains, forced to hunt smaller, faster prey that their massive bodies weren't designed to catch. It was a slow, agonizing starvation of a dynasty. Extinction is a word we use casually. We treat it like a historical fact, a closing parenthesis. But extinction is an experience. It is a generational trauma. It is a mother unable to produce milk for her cubs. It is a male calling out into the freezing night, waiting for an answer from a pride that no longer exists. The last fossils of Panthera atrox date to roughly 10,000 years ago. Imagine the scene. The great glaciers have retreated. The air is warm. Somewhere in the scrublands of what is now the American West, the last American lion lay down. Did it know it was the last? Did it feel the weight of its own ending? When its eyes closed, a reign that lasted 100 millennia evaporated into dust. The roar that defined a continent was silenced. Forever. Today, we look at the American wilderness and we call it beautiful. We hike through Yellowstone. We drive across the Dakotas. But to a paleontologist, this landscape is profoundly lonely. It is an empty stage. The actors are gone, and only the extras remain. The pronghorn antelope of the American West is the second fastest land animal on Earth. It can run 60 miles an hour. Today, nothing in North America can catch it. Biologists used to wonder why it evolved to run so incredibly fast when its only predators are slow-moving wolves and cougars. The answer is a ghost. The pronghorn is running from the American cheetah, and it is running from the American lion. It is running from a predator that hasn't existed for 10,000 years. Our world is shaped by things that are no longer here. We often congratulate ourselves on being the ultimate survivors. We conquered the ice. We sit at the top of the food chain. We call it the survival of the fittest. But when we look at the colossal skull of the American lion, we shouldn't feel triumph. We should feel a profound sense of humility. They were perfectly adapted. They were highly intelligent. They were undeniably powerful. And yet, they vanished. They were masters of this earth, just as we believe we are now. If there is a lesson in the bones of Panthera atrox, it is this: nature does not grant permanent crowns. And no matter how strong you are, no matter how fiercely you roar into the dark, the earth eventually reclaims us all.